what it is, fam. I'm out here about to start my elk hunting trip out here in just west of Weatherford, Oklahoma. So I got an hour down and 8 hours of driving to go, and I wanted to capture some of my thoughts before I went hunting for the first time in May. Killed my first mammal, done some fishing and learned how to clean fish this year, which bothered me, but I'm a super sensitive guy, so I'm not looking forward to hunting elk. The thing on my mind is I don't like killing stuff. I understand it. I feel like it's something I need to learn, but we're all connected, so it's not something I've just never been. I think it's going to be a cool trip. I have two friends, Troy and Jason, who are letting me go with them. I'll be doing elk calls to help bring in the elk. If my calls are good enough and they want me to do it, if they get an animal and they harvest it, bull elk's about 700 pounds. You'll be carrying at least 200 pounds of meat. So I'll be helping them carry some of the meat out if they get an animal. So that's the main reason I'm going, to witness, to learn. I don't know how I'll feel about this after we get done, after we get out of the mountains. It's kind of a weird tension. I also want Troy and Jason both to get animals. Oh boy. Oh, Jose's burritos, baby. Y'all know about that green sauce. Check out these aspens in the background, y'all. Yep. Okay, so here's the beginning of our hike. This is what most of our day looks like. We're going to stop here in a second, and Troy's going to do some cow calls. You'll get to hear what that sounds like. So this is what elk hunting looks like. It's gorgeous. There's a lot of walking, beautiful hiking, stopping, making calls, and just sitting still and listening. Troy is about to do his first bull call, then he'll follow it up with a few calf calls. We didn't hear anything, so we moved on. You're going to hear the difference between a cow call and a calf call here. They'll do 2 cows and then 2 calf calls, which are a little higher. See if you can tell the difference.
So, are we kind of on a
right behind you?
called me right in. Good job.
How you doing? Yeah, it's so hard to know where it came from too. It's weird.
Well, that's what he just taught me was I didn't know he was whistling and he was standing 10 feet in front of me. It was echoing off the canyon and coming back to me. I thought some dude was over there. He goes, no, I just whistled.
Yeah.
What?
That's crazy.
So we've hiked about a mile and a half. We've done all we can do to look for elk and listen for elk on the main trail. And now it's time to jump off and go bushwhacking. It gets really thick and it's time to start using our compass to try to find where we want to get to. Very slow hiking, tight spaces. It's just like this all day, the rest of the day.
I'm having caffeine withdrawals right now. I've never drank an energy drink until 10 years ago and then yesterday.
So now you want more?
I want to bang so bad right now. I didn't realize how addictive they are. So we found this really cool area, a lot of water crossings. I had to get some caffeine in me. I was having withdrawals from the energy drink. But we're finishing out day one here. The sun's going down. This place was just beautiful. It looked like I was waiting for a dinosaur to pop out. This place just looked untouched, and everything was so huge and thick that it was just gorgeous. Okay, so we hunted the whole day. We hiked, a lot of stopping, a lot of listening, a lot of raking, elk calls, cow calls, bull calls, chuckling. Didn't see anything. We thought we heard something. It was probably another hunter. We weren't too sure, but there we found elk sign, which is elk droppings, and it was promising. We were on the right path. We ended the day, set up camp, and shortly after Jason and Troy went to bed, I was still up, and 4 cows were within 40 yards of me. But I had my little flashlight, and these 4 large animals were very close to me. I wish I had caught it on video, but that's how we ended day 1. And we get up the next morning on day 2 and start hiking further back into the backcountry to try and find some elk. These rocks were huge. We haven't had water since we left the truck on day 1. So here in the middle of day 2, we find a nice stream. It's a very slow trickle, but it probably took us an hour and a half for us each to get our water. And then a rainstorm came in, we had lunch. It was a really cool experience. And now the rain has cleared and we're about to set up shop and start looking for elk down in this valley. I'll show you what they're doing. Jason's over here. There's Troy down there. And here's my sticks that I'm using. Just been sitting here. This is way more fun than I thought. It's so quiet. So that's it. Camp is set up. We finally made it about 6 miles deep in the backcountry where we wanted to be. The sun's about to go down, so we decided to go down into the valley where we believe the elk are crossing, do a few calls. And so now you're going to see Troy do a few elk calls before we light a fire and go to bed for the night. So that's all the video I got for day 3, but that's all we did. Troy continued to make awesome elk calls. We were very close to a herd. We have heard elk, we just haven't seen any yet. So we walked around all day, filtered some more water, never did actually see an elk though. We heard several. The next shot you're gonna see is morning 4. We got up early to head down in the valley. Troy's gonna test out his bow and arrow and just make sure he's got a clear lane in case the herds come up through the valley on our last morning here. So we sat there all morning, did not see any elk come up through the valley, and we're making our last hike, day 4 in the morning, back up to camp to have some breakfast and break down camp. And I just thought it'd be cool for you guys to see how steep the hike was. We made this hike evening of day 2, morning of day 3, evening of day 3, and here again, morning of day 4. It's time for a little breakfast. I always like to go with the old Mountain House, eggs and ham. You throw in a tortilla and it kicks it up another level. It was just a gorgeous view before we packed up and headed back. So here's something crazy about elk hunting. You saw that open field that we were just walking through. Troy had been telling me that if I heard an elk, it was within 100 yards of us, and I just couldn't register that. I thought because it was so loud, it could be further. And I learned later in the day that he was right. I got lost in this field. Troy and Jason were 220 yards north of me, and I couldn't find them. They were bugling as loud as they could so I could try to find them. We were talking on cell phones, and I could hear the bugle through the cell phone, and I was yelling as loud as I could, and they could hear me through the cell phone, but we couldn't hear each other. And I found out later that Troy was absolutely right. If you hear something, it's within 100 yards of you. I don't think I actually heard them until I got within 80 yards of them, and we were in an open field, and we couldn't hear each other. It's the craziest thing ever. So that was one of the coolest things I learned elk hunting. $10,000 feet. I don't know if you can see that. Currently trying to do a food run and a supply supply run for food and gear for Troy and Jason. We've been hunting elk for 4 days, and got real close on day 3. Had one elk within 100 yards of us, and we believe 2 other elk within 200 yards of us, all different directions, but it was pretty amazing. It's an 8-day trip for them, and I was going to stay the first 4, so it's halftime now. It's day 4, and to save them some energy and help them stay out in the backcountry further, I am breaking off away from them, going back to the truck for them, dropping all my gear, and then loading up their supplies and taking it back to them about a mile and a half. And then after I give them supplies, here in about an hour and a half, 2 hours, I'll turn right back around and come this way again, and try to head home. Bam. So my first elk hunting trip is in the books. We didn't kill an elk.
I was so sure that we would. We didn't even see an elk. Troy and Jason stayed out in the backcountry 4 more days. They didn't get an elk either. I learned a lot. I wish I could have stayed longer, but it was time for me to start my next journey, my next adventure outside with my good friends Cody and Natalie and their kids. My old chief engineer used to tell me that nature is the great teacher. I certainly found that to be true with this trip. It just, my expectations and what happened were 2 different things, and that's part of learning. So if you want to learn, nature's the great teacher. Go play outside. I'd appreciate a like or a subscribe, but more than anything, I just enjoy comments. So hit me with a comment, let me know what you think.
Look at that jawline. Yeah. Oh boy.